I see a lot of TikTokers saying they are going to be brief in their videos. I don't have that capability, so if you don't follow me in my work, this video probably won't interest you. So feel free to swipe on, my friend, and have a lovely day. I'm an intensely private person and will not be telling followers much details about me. So I'd like to make just one introduction video and tell you how I came to be here. Throughout my life, I've ventured into numerous endeavors, but I can't claim mastery in any particular field. However, there is one experience that comes closest to my passion, and that was my time in the world of radio. I discovered a profound love for voice work, writing, editing, and the creative atmosphere of the studio. But I left the radio industry nearly 2 decades ago, and now spend my days flying airplanes as a commercial pilot. During my radio career, I had the opportunity to write and record probably well over 1,000 commercials. However, I had never dabbled into poetry until recently. The catalyst for this artistic exploration was the devastating revelation of my impending divorce. It plunged me into the darkest abyss I have ever faced. Although I have encountered plenty of hardships in the past, including 2 other damn divorces, this one has struck me to the core. I had experienced so much disappointment in life, and finally I thought I'd found the one who would always stand by my side. I believed with every fiber of my being that we were inseparable. It was the one aspect of my life where I took a chance and I really placed my trust. With this ongoing devastation, I turned to writing as a coping mechanism. I decided to keep a journal, hoping that putting my feelings on paper would offer some sort of healing. However, the journal failed to capture the essence of my emotions. Sometimes my thoughts would unintentionally rhyme, creating a somewhat cheesy journal entry. It was during this time that I entered the world of poetry. As someone who is overly critical of myself, it surprised me that I found these poems to be good. Good isn't a word I use often to describe most of what I've kinda accomplished in my life. Given my background in radio, it seemed only natural for me to take the next step and add music to my poetry and voice them. At first, I had no intention of sharing these recordings with anyone. They were intensely personal and meant solely for my own listening pleasure, providing me with an opportunity to reflect and better understand myself. There were always moments during the writing and recording process when I felt an overwhelming sense of isolation, as if I were the only person on earth experiencing such profound pain. It was and still is a lonely and heart-wrenching journey. However, logic dictated that this feeling was flawed, and there were many individuals who shared similar experiences. In fact, many were enduring even greater pain than even I could imagine. It was at this point, feeling like the loneliest person on earth, convinced that nobody could ever comprehend the depths of my sorrow, I arrived at the next logical conclusion: to share my work, and perhaps alleviate the loneliness of others. Being an intensely private and emotional person, I would be mortified if those in my life truly knew what went on inside my head. Thus, I've decided to embark on this project anonymously. The pseudonym I choose, Dbruised, incorporates my first initial and reflects the emotional state I find myself in these days. However, I do use my real initials in my work to ensure that it is credited to me. There are only a handful of people in my life whom I trust with the emotions within me, and even sharing with them has been a struggle. The most common question I get from the few friends I have shared my work with is, "Does your wife know about this?" The answer is she does not. I wrote her a poem once, and her response was, "My last husband wrote me poetry, and he was full of shit too." When she said that to me, I decided I never, ever wanted her reading a poem I ever wrote again. So I have taken great pains to try and make sure she never finds my channel. You will likely never see a picture or video of me, as my self-esteem battles make it challenging to face the overwhelming feelings of narcissism that would wash over me while reading my poems to a camera with tears streaming down my face. If that ever happened, I would no longer be here to offer comfort to others. I'd just be another face on your screen crying out for attention. And like I mentioned above, I would never want my soon-to-be ex-wife, family, or friends to ever see my face and know I am the one that wrote that particular piece, or had those particular emotions. I cannot guarantee that I will have all the answers. However, I will continue to write, pouring my pain and struggles onto the pages in an attempt to find some answers for myself. I will share these works hoping that they might help at least one person out there. I have no grand illusions of fame or widespread recognition. Throughout my life, very few individuals have truly cared about anything I have to say. I don't expect that to change now. And I say this without bitterness, but merely as a simple fact. Therefore, I've set no lofty goals for this endeavor except for one. My one and only true goal is for a single poem I have written to reach one other person out there and alleviate some of their pain, reminding them that they are not alone in their dark abyss. Just one person per poem is all the success I need. So that's a little bit about me, my background, and how I came to be here. If you're going through a tough time and one of my poems has alleviated even a fraction of your pain, I kindly request that you take a moment and leave a comment or send a message. That's the only way I'll know if I'm accomplishing my goal. As a single father working full-time and now undertaking this massive project, my time is limited. However, I want to assure you that if you ever find yourself overwhelmed by loneliness and in need of someone to reach out to, my message inbox is always open. Although it may take some time, I will respond to you. If you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate your interest in me and why I'm here. I hope something I write can alleviate some of your pain.